So the way we're going, the federal government's going to eventually go broke. So should we file bankruptcy? I do believe we have Mr. Litvin has now joined me here. Gennady, good morning. Bob Del Giorno here in New Orleans.
How are you, Bob? Thank you for having me.
Well, I know you're busy this morning. I really appreciate you taking the time with us here. We've been kind of kicking around the idea here about the possibility of the U.S. government declaring bankruptcy. I've been reading over a number of your comments. First of all, I want to get down to what everybody agreed on, the president and our congressional leaders late Friday night, to cut out about $38 billion in federal spending. So government is running this morning, and in the next decade, that'll save $500 billion. But hey, wait a minute. Right now, the federal government is over $14 trillion in debt. So that doesn't seem, the numbers don't crunch, do they, sir?
Well, the way you put it, absolutely not.
They don't crunch. They don't crunch.
Look, what else is going to make the world go round if it's not going to be the $1 trillion debt that the United States has?
What I did, am I pronouncing your name right? Is it Gennady?
Gennady.
Yes.
Close enough.
Yeah. What I did was I took all the zeros away from it. Instead of $14 trillion, I made it $1,400. And according to the federal government, so if you owed $1,400 and you're only making $900 a month, basically what they did was approve about $3.50. That certainly wouldn't help your debt of $1,400. So eventually you're going to collapse.
Well, who's going to pay the United States back then? How's this going to work?
I don't know. What do you tell China? We're not going to pay you?
Well, listen, how's China going to collect their money then?
No. So you don't. Well, first of all, can the government declare bankruptcy?
No, not
legally.
The way it stands right now. With the Constitution and with all the laws that we have on the books right now, the government just can't. It's not legally feasible.
So now there are legal terms that wouldn't allow that?
Absolutely. The only way the government would be able to declare bankruptcy, they'd have to be considered a debtor per the bankruptcy code. And the government is just not a debtor. The government would have to have an amendment added to the Constitution to allow it to declare bankruptcy. And right now, that's just not happening.
So Congress could amend the bankruptcy code?
Congress can, but you know what? The courts wouldn't allow it. Going forward, the courts would still have to approve it because when somebody declares bankruptcy, they go through the legal system. And even if Congress adds code to it, the courts need to figure out, hey, is Congress overstepping their boundaries? And in my opinion, I think the courts would decide that they are.
Can you explain to our listeners, basically, easy language, what the bankruptcy procedure is? I was kind of putting it like if you owe $20,000, you only had $2,000 in assets, then they call all the people at the court that you owe money to, right?
Yes. Of course, bankruptcy is different depending on the state that you reside in. But generally speaking, the way it works is it rounds up, if we're talking about Chapter 7 bankruptcy, which is a total liquidation of all your debt. Essentially what happens is you round up all the people you owe money to. You've got to notify them that you're declaring bankruptcy so they can come to court if they want to, and they can file petitions against it if they feel like you're trying to get away from your obligations. But essentially everybody and every one of your debtors has a right to contest their bankruptcy filing.
So you divvy up whatever you have to divvy up.
Well, if you've got something, absolutely. They want a piece of the pie.
Yeah. Now, I got a caller on the line that's got a real good point. Very quickly. Hey, Bob, you got a great question. Go ahead. Hello. Hello, sir. He's got his radio. Basically, he wanted to ask you the question, would the U.S. have to declare bankruptcy, give up assets?
Well, now we're going into another hypothetical that we don't know about. Essentially speaking, if the government is treated just like any other debtor out there, then yes, hypothetically speaking, if the government was allowed to declare bankruptcy, then they would have to consider what assets the government has as well.
So we've got almost 400 national parks. They could sell those. That'd be worth a lot of dough.
To whom? Not to China.
Well, I mean, I don't know. I think they find a buyer. How about all the tourist attractions in Washington, the Smithsonian Institute? How about the White House? We could put the president on, put him in La Quinta. Get him a nice little suite there, huh? I'm having fun with this thing, but it's not funny at all. I'll tell you what, I got to take a break for the news, and I know we had a little difficulty. Now that I got you, I don't want to let you go. Can you hold?
Absolutely.
All right. Hopefully I'm close on this one. Gennady Litvin is a bankruptcy lawyer. Any questions on this? 260-1870, yeah. Very quickly, back to my guest, Gennady Litvin, bankruptcy lawyer. Welcome back, sir.
Thank you, sir.
I've been finding humor in the fact that we're going to save $500 billion in 10 years, and right now we over, $14 trillion in debt, that the numbers don't crunch and so on. So what's your scenario? How are we going to get out of this thing? What can we do if we don't file bankruptcy?
I guess that's for Congress and for the president to try to figure out in government. Financially speaking, there is no way out as per the existing code to somehow write it off. Essentially, in the past, what has happened was they've declined the value of the dollar to get the debt minimized. I don't think that's going to happen moving forward. But
come back with that one. That's scary. The government could simply devaluate the dollar. So if you did have some savings, say you had $100,000 in saving, they could just devaluate the dollar, and then you don't know what you'd end up with.
Of course,
that's scary. That's nice. Yeah,
they could print out some more money to get it moving across the world, and essentially to us that just means that the dollar has less value right now.
So that would accomplish essentially the same thing as declaring bankruptcy.
It would, but bankruptcy is just not in the books for the government.
It's all scary to me. It's not funny anymore. I'm sorry, sir. Well, Mr. Gennady, it's good talking with you, sir. Can the government refuse to pay a bill?
Government can.
I mean, one bill, like we owe, I don't know, we owe almost $1 trillion to these people. We're not going to pay you.
Well, look, the government can decide to do anything, really. It's just a matter of what's going to happen when they do. Can the government decide to stop paying China back the amount that we owe them? Sure, they can. But what is that going to do? That's going to stop trade. That's going to close all the doors and essentially put a lot of development and sale on hold. And that's not a good thing for our economy. So, the government has to obviously consider all the options, and not paying a bill for somebody is just one of them, but is it a good one?
I'm going to try another call here. Lower your radio down. This would be Bob. How you doing, Bob?
Hi, thank you.
You got a question for my bankruptcy attorney?
Yeah, what about a reorganization? Like, if you can't pay your bills, why do we keep incurring debt? Like, I don't know how many trillions or maybe we spend at war. Why don't we stop that, for one thing? Why don't we, stop many of the billion-dollar projects that we have? And if we do go to bankruptcy, what do we do? Do we sell off the battleships? Do we sell off Fort Knox? Do we have condos in the national parks? I mean, there's a lot of things we could cut back on. That's my comment. Reorganize.
All right. Any chance of doing that, sir? Just reorganizing.
Well, like I said, reorganization is I'm not sure if he's referring to the reorganization of debt, which is a part of a bankruptcy. There's a Chapter 13 and a corporate Chapter 11. We're still talking in hypotheticals because essentially the government is not declaring bankruptcy, nor can they at a given moment. But reorganization of the spending of the government, hey, once again, the government and the Congress have to step in and just change the arrows of where the funds are flowing and where they're coming from.
I think
of course, that's possible, and that's what they're planning. That's what they try to do every week.
I know there's two words that every politician fears and never saying. Under their breath, though, they're saying the president, in a way, raising taxes. Is that the only answer? Raising taxes.
That's not the only answer, but that's an easy way out. There's a lot more to it than just, adding 1% or 2%, whatever they are considering to the taxes. But that's going to affect the retail market, and that's going to affect the wholesale market, and that isn't always the best way to go about it to make some money for them.
President Obama is going to outline his new, fresh plan to cut the federal deficit, and a lot of experts in Washington are saying he's going back to that one, raising taxes on rich people. So let's see.
That could be a way to go about it, but once again, that's what makes Democrats democratic, I guess. The treatment of the upper class differently, and putting them in a much higher tax bracket.
With your years of experience as a bankruptcy lawyer, is it possible for a country where only 50% of the population pays taxes, the other 50% receive, to ever break even anymore?
I don't even think that that's a possibility, because it doesn't need to happen. I think our country's deficit actually promotes our economy at one point, and many people out there are probably asking the question, how? The reason that I believe that the deficit actually promotes our economy is it keeps money flowing. Whether it's coming in or coming out, the money's still moving, and it makes things happen easier. We're talking about trade. The lines of trade are open between all of our countries that we're trading with just because of the deficit. If we stop borrowing, then a lot of that's going to stop, and the economy's going to come to a standstill.
But we keep getting deeper in a hole.
Well, you know what? That will be paid out. That will be paid out. Every single country
just by the increase
out there is in debt.
All right. Very interesting stuff. So thank you for joining me. I know you're busy today. Thank you, Mr. Gennady Litvin.